Okay, give us the news. What's happening this morning?
All right, well, we've had confirmation overnight. Schapelle Corby has had 5 years shaved off her jail sentence for drug smuggling. Indonesia's president granted the reduction yesterday after the 34-year-old lodged another appeal for clemency on the grounds of mental illness. Her new release date is still being worked out.
So what does that mean, though? Roughly what would her release?
Well,
how long would she be in there for?
Well, there's talk this morning that if her lawyers are going to appeal for parole, or apply for parole, and there's talk in the paper today that could be as early as August.
Can you imagine the day Schapelle Corby comes home?
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh, my God. I can't even imagine the media kerfuffle.
Oh, current affair today tonight. They're going to go broke trying to offer each other better deals.
There'll be thousands at the airport. It'll just be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or we'll forget and something else will be on like Australia Day and it'll just slide through unnoticed.
She'll slip into the country and go back home.
And there is a huge bidding war, as you can imagine, for Schapelle Corby if she gets released fairly soon, which is what they're thinking. So
we started off at $10.
Well, how much do you believe? Because I've got the rough figure that networks may pay up to.
Yep.
How much you and Emma reckon they will pay for the interview, which will include magazine. It will include like a cluster of things. So it'll include the first interview, follow-up interviews, magazine spread. So, you know.
$500,000.
M?
400.
$5 million.
No way.
Do you reckon?
No way. They haven't got that. For what?
$5 million. They reckon they can get a lot of bang for their buck from Schapelle.
Magazines don't sell that much as they used to. Back, 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, well, each network obviously has a magazine line, 7 and 9. They have their own.
Yeah.
Women's Day, new idea for 7. And
$5 million. They've never spent $5 million on anything ever.
Well,
ever.
the Beaconsfield Miners got $2 million.
Yeah, but
that's
everyone
not even
cared about them.
Are you kidding? I believe people would want to hear Schapelle's interview more than the Miners. I am interested in the Miners, don't get me wrong, but Schapelle has been this ongoing story. There's like a soap opera in this country.
When those miners were down there, that was... We felt sorry for them because they had no choice, no warning. Boom, they were trapped down there. Like that, I think people were
But Schapelle's
more
been
interested.
in prison. There's just so many questions.
I feel like I've heard everything
there
is to hear from them.
Really?
I feel I've heard everything I want to hear about the Schapelle Corby thing. Well, yes, I want her out of jail. Will I actually even watch the interview or read one? Probably not.
Well, actually, I wanted to take calls on this on 131060. What do you think of Schapelle being let out early? Are you happy this is happening, or do you think,
Emma, are you interested in it? Would you read the magazine article or rush home and sit down and watch TV?
Interested.
Yeah, 100%.
I would.
But you're not going to hear anything. She's not going to say, "Oh yeah, I did smuggle the stuff."
No,
it's not going to be revelations.
Yeah, but I believe that it will be a very fascinating interview to watch.
I want to hear from her side of things.
Yeah, because everyone's spoken on her behalf, but she hasn't. So I'd love to hear her story. I think that would be a big thing.
Yeah.
But what do you think about her being let out early? I'm so glad that it's going to happen. I believe that, it's about time she got released.
I think there's a lot there we don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we're going to get it out of an interview or reading it in a magazine.
No, I'm not asking that. I'm just asking about her being released from jail.
No, I'm glad. I reckon she should never have gone to jail in the first place.
Yeah.
But still, I probably still won't read the article or watch the show. Not that interested.
Okay, well, 131060, your thoughts on Schapelle Corby being let out early? Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think? Guilty, not guilty? We'll take your calls.
Any thoughts on it? 131060. Do it next. Lego House, Ed Sheeran now here at 2DayFM.
Kyle and Jackie O. Podcasting now.
Am I on the air?
Okay, Schapelle Corby. That's the big news all over the paper and TV this morning. Is she getting out early? Will she? Won't she? Do you think she should? Do you think she shouldn't? Do you think she should have gone to jail in the first place?
What are your thoughts on the Schapelle Corby situation?
And do you want to watch it on TV or read magazines about it? I particularly don't. Even though I felt terribly sorry for her. I don't think she should have gone to jail. I don't think, personally, that she did smuggle that marijuana into that country.
Oh, you believe? What do you believe?
I believe it was a interstate drug smuggling ring.
I don't believe that.
Well, because you don't know.
No,
you don't live in that world. You don't know. You're oblivious to what goes on.
Yeah, I know, but I've seen all those documentaries and all the friends and the family members and.
Yeah. I don't believe
that. I reckon there was something going on there with the family or something.
Oh, you don't understand. Marijuana. You would not be taking a giant brick of marijuana over there. They can grow their own marijuana.
I'm not saying she's necessarily
But
guilty.
they can grow their own. But smuggling marijuana really just doesn't go on. Up and down the state, internationally.
So wait,
just
why
doesn't really go on.
did the
Every
baggage
country.
handlers do it then? What happened?
They just missed it. They didn't get it out of the bag.
Right.
Didn't get it out of the bag from Brisbane to Sydney, and then boom, off it went.
What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, look, I'm sick of hearing about, criminals like this. I mean, they are criminals because they're convicted. And they're just being glorified, like you're saying, book deals and interview deals and all this other kind of stuff. If you do the crime, you do the time, the old saying, And unfortunately, she got caught out in another country with their requirements and their punishments and so on. But they've got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, that she was somehow involved in it or had done it or whatever. I mean, I really would like to believe that if there was any doubt at all that our government would step in and try and help her,
Do you think the government? Do you think the government believes she did it?
Well, like I said, Jackie, it's just, wouldn't you like to think if something that dramatic, not dramatic, that serious had happened, where, it's a death penalty in some countries, then, you'd want to think that the government would want to step in. So I really think that there's been more than enough proof and, evidence and justification to jail Schapelle.
Do you think it's time she was let out, though?
I don't think it's... Well, she's been a model prisoner and all this other kind of stuff, and I'm sure she has remorse now, and I'm sure that she's somehow reformed, but
she's going to come out. She's not going to say she did it.
No,
there's no way. Not even... who knows if they pay her $5 million.
Exactly.
But she's still not going to come out and go, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
Alicia, what do you think
Hi.
of this Schapelle Corby thing?
Hi, guys. To be honest, I reckon it's really disgusting that, she's actually going to get paid for this because, she's been convicted of a crime. So I agree with the first caller with totally glorifying the situation. And she's going to come out making millions when she's done something completely wrong. And what are we saying to, criminals out there? That it's okay to go, spend
You're right.
some
I don't
time.
think
This happens a lot. It happened with the teenage boy, didn't it? Did he end up selling his story to a current affair?
I know,
or
but you're not
something?
allowed... You're right. I think there is a law out there that says you're not allowed to profit from crime.
Absolutely. I think it's great if she comes out and tells a story and, it shares her experience, but to take money on it, I think is so wrong.
And $5 million's a lot of money.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like a small amount of money we're talking about. It's, can possibly set her up for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Virginia?
That is strange. Hi, Virginia. What do you think?
Hi. Look, the thing that I've been listening to the other guys, the thing that I really feel is I think everyone remembers the day that her court case was broadcast all over Australia.
I was just watching that. That was awful.
We all stood still and absolutely I was gobsmacked that she was found guilty and her sentence had been, such a long sentence. I've travelled a lot and if there's one thing that travellers know is that the Indonesian police take bribes and are corrupt.
Yeah.
I don't think she could have possibly had a fair trial in Indonesia. She was jailed for far too long, and when I heard she was getting out, I thought, fantastic. I hope she makes heaps of money from her story, because whether she was guilty or innocent, I don't know whether we will ever find out. No. But I do know that Indonesian police and Indonesian bureaucracy are as corrupt as they come and take bribes all the time, and you can't trust anything they say.
Well, I do know of a few cases over there too where I know people have been paid off.
Yeah.
And it's government people, police, ministers, judges.
Absolutely.
I think her family made a lot of mistakes when dealing with that trial.
Yeah,
and that's
for sure.
That's what got her into trouble. Michael. Hi.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How are you?
Good. Look, that's about that last caller. Every country is corrupt. Schapelle Corby deserves to be in there for another 50 years. She committed the crime. She deserves to do the time.
How do you know she did it, though?
Of course she did it.
How do you know that she did it? You don't know anything.
Well, I think I do. Look, she's been in there for a long time. All of a sudden, she's getting 5 years cut off her sentence. Why? Because the media has been involved. She's a prisoner. She's done a crime in a country, and she's dumb enough to do it in a Muslim country, and she should know. But if she does it in that country, she's going to be sentenced for it. And I think she's been let out way too early.
What if she didn't do it?
She hasn't done it, but...
What if she didn't?
She has done it.
No, well, how do you know? You're arguing a case.
Well, no one knows. It's just an opinion. So you have your opinion. He has his opinion.
Phil's on with you. Phil wants to talk to you, Michael. Hi, Phil.
Hi, guys. I was to go...
Nah, not on that shit phone, you're not. Sorry, Michael. Phil, but you can't talk on that.
What do you say to the people that think she is innocent, Michael?
Well, if she's innocent, fair enough, she's innocent. But all signs point that she's guilty. And for her to profit $5 million, if anything, this may tell someone, I should go to Indonesia, spend 10 years in jail, I'll come out, I get $5 million.
No. That is so... No, I don't know anyone in their right mind that would be happy to do that.
Phil's back with his little technology problem fixed. Hi, Phil. Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. I just want to just bring up, firstly, there was no motive for Schapelle to do the alleged smuggling because the price of marijuana in Indonesia was a lot less than Australia.
Yep.
So there's no motive there. And one of the callers mentioned that the Australian politicians would have supported her if there'd have been a need to. Well, the Australian politicians were asked on many occasions to produce CCTV footage, which they couldn't produce, which was ultimately lost. Schapelle begged for the CCTV footage from Sydney, Brisbane airports, which one single frame would have condemned her and sent her straight to prison. This was refused and lost. She supposedly transported this.
How can they have lost footage from Sydney and Brisbane airport? How does that get lost?
Exactly. It's some sort of conspiracy.
All 200 cameras that were on at that time either were off, faulty, or the footage was lost. But look, the thing that I find concerning is that 8 baggage handlers would have touched and handled that bag, and not one mentioned anything about the pungent smell that would have been coming from.
It would have absolutely reeked of marijuana. It would have absolutely. You wouldn't be able to have 4 kilo, whatever. How many kilos was it? 4 kilos or something?
4.1, yeah.
4.1 kilo bag of marijuana. Yeah. If it was in this office, you would smell it from one end to the other.
Right.
There is no missing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle, you're absolutely right. And there's also evidence that the weight of the bag was different, was about 5 kilos different. And somehow, the marijuana, we believe, ended up in her bag after it left the Australian airport. But look, at the end of the day, we really need to support this woman, I reckon. And it's obvious that her trial was pretty much a railroad into prison. The Indonesian judge had never acquitted somebody in 500 cases. So we really, remember back to when it first happened, we all thought she was innocent. We all wanted her home. And then slowly the political machine kicked in. The relations between Indonesia and Australia were bad. We had to make them good. So I think Schapelle Corby was a political sacrifice.
Why are you so? You know a lot about this, Phil. Is this just something that it has interested you and you've researched it a lot? Or?
Not really. I have a real passion for this type of thing and injustices, etc. But when it happened, I followed it briefly. But it's recently a documentary's come out called The Expendable Project, and I watched that about 3 months ago, and that absolutely blew my mind. It was 2 hours of evidence, sort of presented like in a documentary format with court documents and dossiers and things like that. So
all on this Schapelle case.
This is what worries me, right? Because I travel so much, what worried me is there drugs being smuggled by baggage handlers or someone like that works with these systems? Is someone smuggling things where I could show up in some country and someone's smuggled something in my bag and I go to prison for life or I get executed? That's what was worrying me. That's why I'm so.
Well, this is why people don't want to go to those countries now, because of that very reason, where the penalties are extremely harsh. You do get concerned because you look at Schapelle and you think, if she didn't do that, that's just, imagine what she's been through, how awful that's been for her.
And people say she did it or she didn't. Oh, where there's smoke, there's fire. Whatever you think. Imagine if it was you, and imagine if you didn't do anything.
I know, that would just be.